This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Welcome to City Council meeting of Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. This meeting is being held hybrid in an order extended by the state until June 30th, 2027, which allows us to do so. I remind both the members of the City Council and the public participating remotely to remain muted until recognized by the City Council President. Also, for the members of the public, please remove your camera for the duration of the meeting unless you are participating in the public speak time or the public hearing. Thank you. This meeting is now called to order. Mary Ann.
Peg Coniff. Here. Connie Denham. Here. Salem Derby.
Present.
Felicia Jadzik. Here. JP Kwasinski.
Here.
Tom Peak.
Here.
Brad Riley. Here. Tamara Smith. Here. JT Terrell.
Here.
And now, if you would like, you could either join us in the Pledge of Allegiance or take a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will continue to work for it.
I was like, oh, fell on my
Yeah.
And so we do have some minutes to act on. So we have the minutes.
Do not.
Oh, we don't. Oh. They're not available yet.
April 2nd will be available.
April 2nd will be available ASAP. And so this would be an opportunity for anybody in the public to address the council.
Just a quick point of order. Could we turn captions on, Mr. President?
Thank you. In our rush, I forgot to do so. Thank you for reminding me. And I think I can just press this button. There we go. Public comment. So if anybody from the public would like to address the council, just please come state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes to address the councilors.
Hi, my name is Kathy Kwasinski, Overlook Drive, Easthampton. I wanted to speak to you about the battery storage system proposed in Westfield. Jupiter Power, which is a subsidiary of BlackRock, is planning to install 219 standalone lithium battery storage systems, each about the size of a tractor trailer truck, near the Barnes Aquifer. Each unit resembles large storage containers. The company is seeking exemptions from local zoning ordinances, including the Water Resource Protection Orders District, from the newly created Energy Facilities Siting Board. A lithium fire cannot be extinguished and will burn for 2 to 5 days. In 2023, 4 out of the 8 battery storage systems in New York caught on fire. In January of this year, one at Moss Landing in California caught on fire and burned for 5 days, releasing toxic smoke, poisonous gases containing PFAs, and heavy metals. The fire led to forced evacuations, shelter-in-place orders, and road closures. Residents reported a range of health issues and still are reporting them today, 4 months later. The Connecticut River Valley Basin is a unique geological area with features formed during the last ice age. It's much lower than the rest of the area around us, and the smoke from a fire like that would get trapped in the valley and likely poison a good bit of the land between Westfield and the Quabbin and Greenfield, impacting our only water source. Westfield has passed a resolution in their city council against it. Holyoke voted the same last night. Amherst is looking at it next week. We have asked our state representatives to propose legislation stopping any more lithium battery storage facilities in Massachusetts until more information is known about the fire hazards and there's a way to put them out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carolyn Cushing, Main Street, and this is my last time while I would be talking to you as the current poet laureate. There is a transition happening on April 26th, 2 p.m. in the Blue Room. We will be transitioning. Carolyn Tchaikovsky will become poet laureate. But I'm wearing that hat just to speak to you in favor of the resolution that's being brought to for the council to adopt the ECA Futures project. I was part of developing all the different amazing focus groups we had, and creating a plan to address the different issues that are potentially come up in the future. And it was going to be published in March 2020. That did not happen, obviously. But because ECA had it in place and the community had talked about what they might like in various things, ECA, Pasco was able to pivot and do some great programming, residency programming, because they knew these ideas were generated. So if the city adopts it, then we will have these ideas and we'll be able to respond, with our steady growth in supporting the arts, or things that come up that we can't anticipate. And in this time where it is so stressful for so many reasons coming from the larger political system, the arts are an important way for us to process and work through and envision the future that we want. So that's why I came here. And then I'm just listening to Kathy, I'm very grateful for what she's bringing up about battery storage, and hope that will come up with the resolution as well. So thanks very much.
Anybody else? Anybody online? Okay, seeing none. I guess that will bring us, so tonight we have a special presentation by our Easthampton City Arts Program Director, Pasqualina Azzarello. I think I said that right. Oh, thank you. And so, welcome to the podium. You are not timed, so feel free to take as much time as you need.
Excellent, thank you. I'm going to pass these out if you want to take one and pass them.
So I was, this is me.
She's recording.
Are you able to pull up the presentation?
That is a good question. I have it on my iPad. I don't know if I can pass it to this. So let me, that might take me a second.
I'm sure that's how you share, so unless you're talking to me.
Here we go.
Well, I appreciate it.
Oh, this is probably not going to work.
Just have to speak loud.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it on here, but I will give it a try. Wrong one. No, I'm not going to be able to get it.
Are you using the Meet app?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I can send it.
Oh, can you? Okay, that'd be great.
Do you want to recess? Just sit here.
I think we could probably.
She has it
She's
on
gonna
her
send it, so.
computer, and she joins the meeting.
You might want to tell point of clarification, Mr. President. We do have public hearing
Can we
at
get this to
6:15.
work?
Right. So we might need to. I mean, we'll see where we get.
Okay.
I think we'll try to deal with this technical piece now.
Sure, thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
And we might need to, just for full disclosure, we might need to stop at 6:15 and then come back to you. So maybe we can, if you have an introduction that you can give before we get the video or the presentation going, or not. It's up to you.
Well, okay, so I will begin. Greetings, everyone. It is a true honor and pleasure to be here today. My name is Pasqualina Azzarello, and I have served as the Arts and Culture Program Director for Easthampton City Arts in the City of Easthampton for the past 8.5 years. As many of you know, and as many of you might not know, Easthampton City Arts partnered with Depict, an Easthampton-based facilitation organization, in 2019 to design and implement a series of deeply creative and thoughtful community engagement sessions over the course of 6 months to work directly with members of our community to create a vision for the future of arts and culture in the city of Easthampton for the next 10 years. And we did just that. We engaged more than 450 community members, including artists of all kinds, business owners, landlords, educators, youth, elders, veterans, people who had lived in Easthampton their whole lives, and newcomers too. And we gathered information, knowledge, and ideas from across these different perspectives, and we documented and recorded each and every last Post-it note. And we worked together to synthesize all that was generated into a comprehensive list of through lines, goals, and strategies as a pathway for Easthampton City Arts to work in community to bring this vision to life. In November of 2019, I personally met with Jeff Bagg, the city planning director at that time, and Mina Kim of the Massachusetts Cultural Council. And together we put a plan in place for the Easthampton Futures Project report to be co-announced and released by Easthampton City Arts and the Massachusetts Cultural Council on Wednesday, May 18th, 2020, while obviously having no idea of the ways in which our lives and of life itself was about to change. Because of all that was going on at that time, both in our immediate community and our greater world, we all thought it best to hold off on making any claims about the future quite yet, and we therefore held off on our planned public announcement. That being said, ECA has referred to the through lines, goals, and strategies that were generated by community members through the platform of the Easthampton Futures Project ever since, and they have proven to be a deeply reliable guide. What's more, they have proven to be a reliable guide through an incredibly, even incrementally unpredictable and unprecedented time. And I personally believe that this very reliability of all that was generated through this project is a true testament of the city's initial open-mindedness toward and subsequent investment in the deeply participatory public process that we engaged in. And here we are today at the halfway point of a 10-year vision plan, which falls during ECA's 20th anniversary year. We are experiencing our little city with its great big heart transformed before our eyes in incredibly complex ways. We are welcoming more arts and cultural initiatives and organizations than ever before. And at the same time, we are witnessing a mass exodus of artists and creative business owners due to workspace becoming less affordable and unaffordable. It cannot be lost on us that many of the people who can no longer stay are literally the same individuals who worked with such heart to help create this little city we love. I often hear myself say, if we don't protect it, it's not protected. And it is with this in mind that I come to you, our City Council, on behalf of Easthampton City Arts, and ask that the community-generated through lines, goals, and strategies of the Easthampton Futures Project be formally adopted by the Easthampton City Council. This formal acknowledgement of this important and meaningful work is more than a gesture, but rather it's a demonstration of the city's ongoing commitment to arts and culture as valuable entities within themselves, as primary economic drivers of Easthampton, and also as the very means by which our city will continue to grow and thrive. I'd like to thank the members of Easthampton City Council for listening tonight and for your consideration, Mayor Nicole LaChapelle for your ongoing support of the arts in Easthampton and of ECA, the ECA Coordinating Committee and members of all of its subcommittees for their ongoing commitment to this work, and to our dedicated community members of artists, art appreciators, and volunteers who are working hard each day and every day to bring this vision and this city to life. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think I was able to figure out how to get the presentation up.
I'm so glad. I would love to share the visuals.
And so we have, we have like less than a minute till 6:15.
Yeah.
So if it's okay, what we'll do is we'll go to our public hearings and we'll come right back when we're done with our public hearings to view the presentation and allow you to have. And then the next item on our agenda is the resolution in support of the ECA Futures.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. And so we have 30 seconds. So we'll just Well, hang tight until we get a motion here. All right, I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes or abstentions? Motion passes, public hearing. And we are starting tonight with an interdepartmental transfer. Councilor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this interdepartmental transfer is for $4,500 to be transferred. This is sort of an interesting situation. It's going to be transferred from the treasurer's salary to central purchasing for bulk paper, UPS postage, and other supplies. And our acting treasurer and procurement officer, Mr. Parent, is here to,
Mr. Owens.
Owens, yes, Michael Owens. I'm sorry, why did I think we were, so sorry. Michael Owens is here to discuss sort of the details of the situation a little bit further.
Okay. Mr. Owens.
Thank you, Councilor Peak. Appreciate it. Yes, I'm here for an interdepartmental transfer, $4,500 from the Treasurer's Department Treasury salary line item to central purchasing. These are going to be used for USPS postage, bulk paper, and other supplies. The numbers that were prepared on the 26th of March still hold true. We use about anywhere from $260 to $300 a week on the postal machine downstairs. Right now, we have about $800 left in that. Another $2,500 will bring us to about $3,300 with 10 weeks remaining in the fiscal year. That should suit our needs. Right now, I need some bulk paper. Last purchased bulk paper on February 11th. I'm paying $41.99 for a case of bulk paper. That was about $503. I need to order bulk paper right now. So I see the $1,500 meeting that need, and the $500 will be used to meet other office supply requests from across the departments downstairs at 50 Payson.
Okay.
And the Finance Committee did vote 3-0 to approve this appropriation. The one thing, the reason it's being transferred from the treasurer's salary is our treasurer's no longer employed here, and there was just the way that it worked with the stipends for the existing Treasurer's Department staff to fill in that work. There was a little bit of money, a little bit of difference left over, so that they felt it made sense to make the transfer from there. So
sounds good. Any counselors have any questions? Seeing none, anybody from the public like to comment on this appropriation?
I'd just like to say real quick, you know, the city is dealing with inflation just like any other household in the Commonwealth. We've also seen an increase in postal costs consistently over the last several years. So that's where we're at.
Okay, thank you. And nobody from the public? Seeing none, Councilor Peak.
all right, I'll make this request in the form of a motion. Request is hereby made for approval of the following appropriation. Amount requested, $4,500 to be transferred from treasurer's salary, $4,500 to be transferred to central purchasing bulk paper, $1,500, USPS postage, $2,500, other supplies, $500 for a total of $4,500. The amount requested will be used for the following purposes: bulk paper purchases, postage of USPS postage machine, and other office supplies.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Abstentions or noes? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you for your time, councilors. Have a great evening.
Thank you. And it looks like we have we have a supplemental appropriation this time. Mm-hmm. Councilor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is a supplemental appropriation of $20,000 from general stabilization to legal. And so this is something that often happens at the end of the fiscal year where we receive, just the legal budget is notoriously difficult to forecast, and it's run over this time, and so they're asking for money from stabilization. This one is a little bit tricky because we voted to bring this forward without a recommendation because there was nobody at our meeting that was able to speak to the specifics of how we found ourselves, like what the specific legal costs were that brought us into this position and sort of where we were. I'd spoken to the mayor earlier and yes, there you are. I couldn't see you behind the TV.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Peak, and sorry for missing the finance meeting. Usually I'm a little better on that. Yes, as you said, this is an account, a line item that I purposely underfund every year, like overtime in DPW, police and fire. As we need it, we'll come back for it. I think it's just a more prudent way to track expenses that are really volatile. It's very hard to track how much we will use. In my budget, I usually put forward $85,000. In this past year, and what's leading us to this point, we have done and needed a lot of legal work around the different housing developments in town and easements and whatnot. We've also had a lot of labor negotiations, and I will say successfully in agreement with everyone. We're about to ratify the last, but that's very difficult to foresee based on how those go. As well, we have done a lot of reviewing of ordinances, legal language, meaning of that we didn't anticipate. It comes and goes. I would not, City Council also, I think for the first time that I can remember actually is using their legal budget. It's fantastic. I say that in the, sounds funny, but it's great. So, we want to keep those accounts going. I do anticipate legal expenses to fully meet the 20,000, if not go over that before the end of the fiscal year. Towards the end of the fiscal year, we come back with the budget, and with that, there's a series of appropriations and transfers, and the hope would be that we would transfer money towards the end of the year from one account, one department line item to cover legal costs and come before you for that vote. But right now, it's $20,000 for a mix of things, and we have some big things coming at us as well. So that's. This will not be the last legal ask of this fiscal year.
Okay. Any councilors have any questions? Does anybody from the public like to weigh in on this?
I actually do have a question, if I could ask the mayor. So, just for a little context and background, the mayor and I have served on the Massachusetts Municipal Association's Board of Directors, and one of the privileges and opportunities that you get in a position like that is to be surrounded by your peers across the Commonwealth. And one of the things that I have learned from several communities in Massachusetts is that it is actually more affordable to hire an attorney that becomes a staff member than it is to contract out for various things. And so I guess the question is, have you done or could you do an analysis to determine on average how much we spend per fiscal year on legal services and what that would look like to retain or to hire an attorney in staff with benefits and all of that? Has that work ever been looked at before?
Yeah, we look every year at that, and the decision and what you see in the budget is based on a couple of things, but primarily we look at the type of legal expertise we needed. So there's some that they're the same every year. It's HR, it's contract and whatnot. Sometimes it's tax title, tax taking. Sometimes it's very specific environmental law. We would, and I've talked to a couple of other Cs about this, right? We are at this, we've been at this precipice of hiring in in council. The approximate salary would be between $140,000 and $160,000, and then add on to that benefit and pension. With that, it is really difficult to find everybody or a person or even two people who would cover all of that. And that's been a challenge, because I think, I just think about what the city council access is legal for, what we do. It would be maybe convenient and even more efficient to have somebody in the building that, could talk, or I think with planning and talking through. But the balance is we can't find a firm that has that expertise among it to fill that role. And if we could, from what we've talked to like Northampton about and Holyoke, which has large in-house and outside, the hourly rate for a firm that would have that expertise is, anywhere from, $275 to like $600, depending on where. But I've also looked at costing out an in-house counsel plus a paralegal. And to see how that worked. I don't think we're quite there, but I could see in the next couple of years, we have the big transportation projects coming in Main Street, whatnot. Maybe the city should look at having a paralegal with specific contract or public works to prepare these documents for, right now, there are 3 big legal contracts agreements we have. One is for HR, one is for general property and whatnot, and one is for contracts, property, HR. Yeah. And then there's some specialists. So if there could be an all-purpose, maybe paralegal, in fiscal year 28 or 29, when those big projects stop, there could be some real savings for the city, because, you're giving a lawyer some very basic information. They're doing it when maybe somehow, we're not paying $325 an hour for somebody to do that, and we could have somebody in council. I think in-house, it would probably really help with bills, but also efficiency.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that explanation. I know that it's a fine line between how much you spend externally versus the internal investment, so it's good to know.
And it's hard to predict what it is.
Yep.
Very
All right. Great, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from councilors? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, Councilor Peak.
I'll make the following request in the form of a motion. Request is hereby made for approval of the following appropriation. Amount requested, $20,000, to be transferred from general stabilization, $20,000, to be transferred to legal, $20,000. The amount requested will be used for the following purpose: legal costs billed for FY25.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or noes? Motion passes. Okay, thank you. And next we have shrubbery ordinance. Councilor Denham.
Thank you, Mr. President. So for the last few months, we've been working on the, including a shrubbery ordinance. And we've worked with our planning director, the director of DPW, and we've also had some input from our city engineer. And so this is what's in the packet, is what the committee has proposed and voted on 3-0. But essentially it, addresses the concerns around sidewalks and shrubbery, kind of overhanging of sidewalks, for there to be some opportunity for DPW to respond to that, or residents to be able to respond to that because of concerns around accessibility, but also at points of intersections where shrubbery is kind of in the line of sight, where you're unable to kind of see around corners and things like that. So that just creates safety hazard for residents and vehicles, but also cyclists, pedestrians, etc. And so this was what we had come to. As I said, in section 8-36B, there was some indication, or there was some articulation of actual measurements. I think it was like 25 feet from the center of the line to the side, et cetera. But the problem is we have a lot of non-conforming properties. And so 25 feet could actually take you to the sidewalk to be able to measure that, but it could also take you to the corner of somebody's house, right? And so that actually was not useful. So, we made sure that we gave the Director of Public Works shall determine the area of unobstructed view required for safety in public. So we did give that, the Director the ability to come in and say, actually, this is fine, or actually, this is actually a concern for safety. And in terms of enforcement and penalties, the DPW will work with those individuals to be able to, remedy that situation. I think a lot of people are concerned about fines and things of that nature, but certainly the director will work with those individuals to make sure that is addressed in a timely manner. But, Mr. President, I want to provide either the planning director or the DPW director the opportunity to speak about this as well. So if you'll...
I believe Greg is online. Mr. Nuttleman, if you have anything you would like to add.
Good evening, everyone. Greg Nuttleman, the Director of Public Works. Just want to thank Councilor Denham for her work on this. I think she's really diligent and went through and we really kind of drilled down on it and made sure it covered the situations that we deal with, kind of the same 4, 5, 6 situations across the city every year with it's mostly line of sight issues, and it's just really getting this ordinance in place will just help keep people safer that are walking on our sidewalks and driving on city streets. So, Councilor Denham, thank you for keeping this moving.
Thank you, Mr. Nuttleman. And I think Allison, is there anything you want to add? I knew you were here, just couldn't see you.
Hiding. Thank you. I don't really have anything to add other than to just sort of thank Councilor Denham again for her work on this. I completely agree with the DPW director. It'll help with addressing those sort of recurring problems that we've had. So I definitely support it.
Good, thank you. Any questions from councilors? Looks like Councilor Krasinski.
Thank you for all the work. I appreciate the DPW being here and the planning department being here. For the public who I think is used to certain, for example, at an intersection, you need clearance of so much to be able to not have bushes or shrubbery in the way, or you need so much availability on a sidewalk. How does one in the public begin to understand? Is there some examples you could give that would be helpful for people's frame of reference so that they can maybe, I'll call it police themselves, for a lack of a better term, in terms of, geez, what do I need to cut? What should I cut? Where can I put a fence? I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe you could help elucidate that.
Sure. I think that for the committee, we actually went out and took some photographs in our own neighborhoods that we could explore and identify as, are these actual incidences of obstruction, or is accessibility impeded in this particular way, or is visibility in terms of being able to pull out into onto a cross street. And I think that we all kind of provided some of those things. I think some salient examples were at an intersection in Precinct 4, and I don't want to give an address or anything like that, right? I'll just, this will work itself out, right? But, there is a clear, at a stop sign, if a motorist was to turn to their right, there are actually tall trees that sit right on the corner, and you actually have to pull out into the intersection in order to be able to see across. And if kids were walking, or riding a bike and they were on the wrong side of the street, that could create a clear kind of immediate hazard. And because it's to the right, as I'm pulling out to see a motorist or vehicle from the right, if I wasn't paying attention because I was focused to the left, was to come, I'm actually pretty far out into the roadway to be able to do that. And also there are examples of specific examples of tall hedges that actually overhang the sidewalk by 2 to 3 feet. If I was in a wheelchair, if I had canes, etc., I would have to step off of the sidewalk to get around that, to then get back onto the sidewalk. And that the sidewalk is actually on the right-hand side. So if I was to step out into traffic and I wasn't paying attention because I was wearing headphones or whatever, right, then I now have a vehicle to my rear, right? And so I think those are some kind of very specific examples, but I know that Director Nettleman, I'm sure, has some additional situations that he often has to deal with. So, Mr. President.
Maybe my question,
Yeah, continue.
My question was more in relationship to the person who is responsible for taking care of the shrubbery or taking care of proper site clearances. What sort of guidance can be given to them that helps them to be able to say, oh gosh, I'm so many feet over, or I'm 1 foot over, a half a foot. Mm-hmm. You can't be any feet. So that under that circumstance, you'd say, well, there'd be 0 feet onto the public sidewalk, and that would make some sense as guidance, and then you'd have it in writing. And there wouldn't be any arbitrary, I'm imagining arbitrary, somebody coming in and saying, well, geez, I think what you're doing is wrong, so do this. Mm-hmm. Greg, can you maybe help us with that? I know, also comment on other towns and what they do, other cities.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the way we handle these is when they come in, it's generally on a case-by-case basis where something is brought to our attention or we happen to observe something where it's, obstructing the sidewalk or creating a line of sight issue at an intersection. And I have a pretty basic letter we'll mail out to just help bring it to the property owner's attention and then work with them to resolve it. We're not looking to, we understand people want their yard or property to appear a certain way. And a lot of it's about communication. Someone may have some taller grass or bushes or something that are out there that they don't realize are creating a hazard or causing a problem for someone trying to navigate the sidewalk or the intersection. So really it's, think of a house on a corner where there's a sidewalk and the grass gets too tall right up to the edge of the street, and a small child on a bicycle gets ahead of their caretaker, and before you know it, they're in the road, and the driver approaching that intersection can't see them come at it. It's like that's kind of situation that we really want to try to prevent, but a huge part of it is about communication, and unfortunately there has been some instances where we've needed to take action at a property, and the property owner was unwilling to cooperate and help just ensure the safety of people on the sidewalk or someone driving on the street near their house. So this ordinance is going to help us be able to resolve that situation in the future.
Just one follow-up?
Briefly?
Just a quick follow-up on, so for example, shrubbery. Let's say you're putting in some shrubs on, and you're at an intersection at a corner, and the shrubs grow 2 feet. Is that allowed? 3 feet? Is that too high? Is there a standard that we can?
It's going to depend on the intersection. It's too hard to tie it to one standard, which is why it's great that there's some discretion built into the ordinance.
Councilor Coniff.
So in the enforcement and penalty section, it talks about if the owner fails, refuses, or neglects to abate such nuisance within 7 days, blah, 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 the owner shall be subject to the penalty provided in section 1-6 of this ordinance. What are those penalties? And where is 1.6?
I believe I don't have it in front of me. But I think it's 100.
So it's monetary?
Yeah, it's monetary. Yeah.
Let's see. I did have it.
Yeah.
I think it's $100.
Yeah.
Is there like a first, second, third? Okay, it goes up. Okay,
pretty sure. Because we actually went into the ordinance and looked it up.
And if I can ask a follow-up question.
Oh, absolutely, please.
Councilor Denham, did you talk about the situation, what if it is an elderly person unable to take care, maybe we just talked about that. Would we provide assistance to them, or with the senior center or neighbors, there's a neighbors group, Easthampton Neighbors, would that be something that we could facilitate if they had no idea that these things, like, is that part of how we're gonna mitigate this, as opposed to just saying, you got 7 days, figure it out?
Right. I mean, I think that could probably happen, but I think for the sake of the ordinance itself, I don't think that we would put in that type of language. But yeah, I mean, I certainly think that the DPW, for example, could have connection with the senior center or Easthampton neighbor to neighbor, right? I think that there are some opportunities to be able to facilitate or to support residents in that particular way.
Because I think sometimes that's the problem, that things get out of hand and you don't have the ability to do it, not that you don't have the desire to do it.
Sure. And I actually have just a shout out to Director Nuttleman. They're over on Cherry Street. They have the new water receptacle things on the side with the plants and shrubbery in that particular situation. And we talked about the fact that there are residents who are older who actually can't take care of that in their front yard. And so, you know, we had talked about like what happens when those become overgrown. And so, you know, if he is made aware of that, then they're able to go over and to do that. So I think that there is some willingness on the part of the department, and I don't want to speak for Director Nettle. He can speak to that, but through that conversation, I think there is that willingness to do that. And I think we also have other resources within the city to be able to help address those things.
Okay, thank you.
But Mr. President, if you would like Director Nuttleman to speak to that, he can.
Sure. Greg, if you'd like to speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, we're not trying to create an undue hardship for anyone by any means with this ordinance. What we're trying to do is just have it where things can be kept safe for people, because there are some properties in town that are unwilling to consider the safety of people using the sidewalk and want their property to appear a certain way. And I just don't feel as though putting public safety at risk is worth allowing that to happen. And we're not asking, and even in a particular situation, we're not looking for someone to cut 20 feet back towards their house. We just need that 4 to 5, maybe it's even 3 feet in some situations, where just to keep people safe and visible for someone approaching the intersection in a car.
Thank you.
But anyone I've ever spoken to that has come and said they need a little bit of help, we come up with a way to either to help them find that help or take care of it for them if that's the situation. So.
Thank you. And I believe I saw Councilor Riley, and then there was someone over here, Councilor Jadzik, and then Councilor Smith.
Yeah, so I mean, to that end also, I just know I've done a lot of outreach, education, and collaboration with, the Council on Aging and the Commission on Disability, specifically with snow removal and ice, and how that can be a challenge for people to navigate the streets, but also for residents who are elderly or have disabilities that cannot do the work themselves. So we can adopt a similar framework for something like that. I would imagine if we reached out to both of those entities that they would be more than happy to help facilitate those conversations. So, really what I just wanted to say is thank you to the Ordinance Committee for doing this work. On the Public Safety Committee for, I don't know, probably 8 months now or so, we've been having lots of dialogues about pedestrian safety, specifically to car speeds, but that this is an additional policy solution that also helps keep people safe. That, if people can see cars coming, if they're speeding, or if someone is speeding and sees a person, that just adds an additional layer of safety for our pedestrians. So, and then just by the accessibility issues, I think that's also justice for people in our community with disabilities. So I think this is like a really well-rounded policy solution, and I just thank you all who worked on it.
Thank you. Councilor Jacek.
So my question is more to do with the structural piece of this, because with bushes and trees and shrubbery, we can cut those back, but I know some of the impediments are actually fences or even retaining walls. I can speak to Precinct 2. I know there's some known issues there. So I guess the question for either Mr. Nettleman or Councilor Denham is, what's the plan when it's not an easy cutback, but it's actually more structural, where the homeowner or property owner would need to actually take down some kind of a existing structure, which is going to be much more cost intensive and time intensive and may need the engineer to be involved as well. Just curious what your thoughts are around that.
Director Nettleman, would you like to respond, or Mr. President, would you like to?
Yeah, absolutely. Greg, if you have a thought on that.
Well, as far as a fence is concerned, I mean, if, you know, we speak of a fence needs to be installed with in agreement with the building code, which was handled by the building department. So I can't really speak to the code around fences. But if someone were to put one up too close to a intersection, I'm thinking, kind of speaking out of turn here, but you know, 9 out of 10 times that's going to not be in compliance with the permitting for putting up fences. So I don't know that there's an issue where we're currently dealing with, we're dealing with a fence creating a line of sight issue. When you think about like a retaining wall, most of those are municipally owned, like Ferry Street, for example, Ferry at Parsons, that's a municipally owned retaining wall that we're working on. We have a project that's about to really break ground here on getting that moved back. So I guess when it is something structural, for the most part, it's going to be something handled by the building code around fence installation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And I do know that we have, even before we had this ordinance, this was something that has come up in the past. There was a fence that was facing out onto Holyoke Street, and they actually had to move it because it was out of the code. So in those situations, they're going to have to move it if it's not up to code. And I think this could potentially be a way for them to clue in that it's out of code. So, and I believe, is that?
Yeah.
Okay, Councilor Smith.
I just wanted to say, as we were on the committee and we were doing this work, there were several different pictures that I took as possible examples and brought them to the committee. And almost all of them were exempt from it for one reason or the other. One of them was fences. And then the other part was that in the Plains neighborhood and in Precinct 5, we don't actually have sidewalks on most of the roads in there. So I was taking a lot of pictures of, let's suppose the middle of someone's yard has a tree that's coming out. It wouldn't be obstructing someone's walkway in the same way. So it wasn't subject to this in the same way. And so I'm not saying that to add to confusion, but it really, I think one of the easiest ways, if you were not sure, is to take a picture and ask about it, because very quickly all of my questions were answered right away. And the other part was when we were talking about how far away, I know you had talked about there were different sections and different intersections that it's just because of how wide the road actually is. And so at some of the places, if the road was not wide enough, we were looking at, I think it was a five-foot clearing, because it would have been from the center, so almost like a radius around it, and that would be the intersection. So if there were no sidewalks, that's what we were going on instead. And so really, once we put that to it, I did the drive after that, and it was really hard to find any examples. I will say that I have a fence in Precinct 5 that I thought for sure would be in violation of this, but when I applied that same logic to it, it clearly is in the fence code. So yeah, it just was a really interesting education about these boundaries, particularly if we don't have the sidewalks. So.
Okay, any other councilors? It looks like everybody might have. Councilor Krasinski?
On another piece of this, and I think this would go to Mr. Nuttleman and to Councilor Denham. So we're setting up a system whereby the director of the Board of Public Works will go out and view a site and say whether or not, in his opinion, this conforms or doesn't conform with a standard that, well, his opinion, whether it makes sense and is safe. What appeal process is there from that decision in the ordinance? To whom does one appeal? Now, let's say they're aggrieved and they say, well, I disagree. Does it go to the Board of Public Works? Does it go to City Council? Does it go to some other? I imagine in order to have due process, you would want to have an appeal process. Just curious.
We actually didn't talk about that. It's not in zoning, so it wouldn't be the zoning board.
My guess is if it's the DPW director who is making the judgment call, it might go to the Board of Public Works.
Right.
And that's just my initial thought.
And if that's the case, is that something we could include in the language of the ordinance? And that way, in case anyone that was aggrieved, there would be something in writing that says, oh, here's the process.
I guess if it's not elsewhere in the ordinances.
Can we look at the 1.6 section about penalties? Is there anything in there about an appeals process?
I was just thinking the same thing.
Let's see if I can find it.
I lost the page that I was on.
It doesn't speak to that. It only speaks to the maximum penalty.
The maximum penalty, which is $300.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't talk about appeals. But I don't think it would be necessarily difficult to put in the area where it refers to the 1-6 to and say, any appeals should be taken up with the Board of Public Works. Something to that nature that could be. Councilor Jacek?
In the ordinances, there are other sections where there is specific language around what and how to appeal. So I don't know if putting a general appeal language in section 1-6 makes sense because...
not in 1-6, just within this ordinance.
Yeah, okay,
where it references 1-6.
Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Councilor Peak?
If we'd like, I could make a motion to, well, I guess we've got to have them before, but I'd be prepared, if that's what's going to hold it up, I'd be prepared to offer an amendment.
Okay, that's great. And I think we would just wrap up councilor questions and then open it to the public because we would need to get the motion on the floor before we can amend it. Yeah. Any further comments from councilors? Anybody from the public like to weigh in on this interesting matter? Okay. So, and there's nobody raising their hand online. Nope. So, Councilor Denham.
So I'll take a motion to amend, or in the form of a motion to amend Chapter 8 to add a new section 8-26 Easthampton Shrubbery Ordinance.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And I believe this is where we could have an amendment.
Okay. I would move to amend the proposed amendment to include in the section, in the paragraph referring to enforcement, a line saying, a property owner who wishes to appeal the judgment of the Director of Public Works shall request an appeal with the Board of Public Works.
Okay, and that's in the form of a motion?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the amendment. Any further discussion?
I just wanted to say, logically, if I may.
Yep.
Logically, I think it makes sense, especially since this is a subjective decision and not something based on objective criteria, that we endorse this.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. No further discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Any against? Any abstention? Amendment passes, and that brings us back to the original amended motion, which we have on the table. Do we have any further discussion on the amended motion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions or noes? Motion passes. Thank you, everybody, and I would entertain a motion.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor? Aye. And abstentions, noes? Okay, Pascalina, welcome back. And let me see if I can share my screen and make this actually happen. So let's see. And let's see if this works. This is my first time trying this. Right now, and it's right here. Is that it?
That's it. Can you make it big? Thank you.
I don't know.
I won't ask for
This
more.
is as big as I can get.
We'll take it.
All right. This is great. I appreciate it. And that actually was pretty interesting. So I did want to first say thank you to everyone for listening earlier. I'm going to try to bring these two moments together. And I did want to bring some visuals of the Easthampton Futures Project into the room with us to really give you all a sense of the feeling of what was possible in that space. A number of you were there, and so you remember and you know. But if you can just flip through next.
Just let me know when to stop.
So this is what the space looked like. We were in Eastworks. We were in a great big few thousand square foot space 4 different times, and we brought in a total of more than 450 community members over the course of 6 months. And Sita Magnuson and her family and many members of Depict who we partnered with, they're based in Eastworks, they're based in Easthampton, and they do work all over the world and do a lot of work in a very grassroots way here in our city. And we were able to work together to put a process to create a space that really valued public process. And we really did that. And the city really supported us in doing that. And by investing in people and by investing in that time and by listening, we created something that was thoroughly reliable and a direct reflection of what the process had been. So you can flip through. So there were 4 different times. There were blanket forts. There were campfires made of fans and tissue paper, and we had the mayor sitting with teenagers, and it was like a very special space. Every time you walked in, people didn't know what to expect, and it really offset our expectations and presumptions of what life can look like and how decisions could get made. And so it was very productive. Everything was recorded. There were live drawings happening all the time. There were little quiet spaces made of cardboard where people could go take a break. We worked with several Easthampton businesses, so we had popsicles from Crooked Sticks at every, Galaxy provided lunches. These were 6 hours long. This was a full day commitment. And I just want to, the timeline of our sharing this got really thrown off. Like 2 years into the pandemic, it felt a little strange to make an announcement about something we did 2 years ago. It was like, so at this halfway mark, and honestly, seeing what happened on Cottage Street, I know you all were very supportive of artists and were very vocal about and explicit about your support of Cottage Street artists and the value that artists bring to the city of Easthampton. Really moved me personally and moved us all on the board of Easthampton City Arts. A number of our board members are here tonight. And, it's like, what can we do? Well, this is something we can do, is having our city council adopt what came of this. It's a matter of listening to community members. We put a lot of trust in the process. I remember Jeff Bagg saying, well, what happened? We don't know what's going to come of it. And it's like, exactly. And no matter what comes of it, there's incredible value there. You can flip, you can just kind of go through. I just want that. I wanted that space to be in this space. I wanted there to be a moment of integration there because I think it matters. I think the voices of all the people who contributed to this project matter. We are going to have a new mayor. There is a tremendous amount of transition in our city, both here in this building and out on our streets and within our federal government. We don't know how it's going to play out. And I do feel I feel so fortunate to be a civil servant and to get to give locally, because oftentimes what we get to receive, we get to see the impact of what we do. And I think this is the opportunity tonight for that. So I thank you all for listening. I thank the members of the public that have come out to support ECA tonight and the Easthampton Futures Project. And I thank you all for your consideration. I want to send a very special thank you to Councilors Denham and Jadzik for their attention to this matter, their commitment to arts and culture, and they're working with me and supporting us on putting this resolution together tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else in the presentation you'd like me to stop on?
Well, what I will say is throughout so as a result of the Easthampton Futures Project, there were 4 through lines, 5 goals, and 16 strategies that were surfaced. And they were all vetted by members of the community that generated them in the first place. I will note that the last 4 strategies that are included in this were carried over from the city's last master plan. So we revisited that master plan. We had done a lot of the things that we said we were going to do. There were a number of things that we didn't get to, and there were 4 strategies that we said, yes, we do want to prioritize this and bring it forward. Our plan for the Easthampton Futures report, as well as the through lines, goals, and strategies, is to keep them up to date. We're looking to share them in a public folder, in a Google folder that can be accessed by the public anytime, and they can see what we've done, they can see what we're doing, and in that folder will also be a form where people can give feedback. We want to hear what people appreciate about what they see. We want to always know we consider this a living document and living work, and we want to continue to hear from people about what they would like to see for the future of arts and culture in the city of Easthampton. And I imagine we will revisit this before the 10-year mark, 5 years from now, and roll up our sleeves and have new conversations about looking ahead.
Perfect. Thank you. And who's going to take the resolution? Councilor Denham. I think this might be an appropriate time to move into that.
Yes. I can't add anything. That was a great presentation. Thank you so much for all the work that you've done and all the work of the community and dedication to the arts and culture within Easthampton. This is a resolution in support of Easthampton City Arts 20th anniversary and the ongoing work with the Futures Project, right? And so I'd like to read the resolution that we've put together. And this is in the form of a motion. Easthampton City Council resolution in support of Easthampton City Arts and the Futures Project. The Easthampton City Council is proud to acknowledge that Easthampton City Arts, ECA, is a city initiative to promote arts, culture, and the community. March of 2025 marks ECA's 20th anniversary. Their mission is to create positive, innovative, and accessible arts programming and cultural events designed to generate and increase opportunities for both local artists and our local economy. In 2019, ECA and the City of Easthampton partnered with a local facilitation organization to conduct an in-depth exploration focused on the future of arts and culture in Easthampton. Through a series of community gatherings and visioning sessions held over the course of 6 months, ECA created a living document, the Futures Project, that outlined guidelines, goals, and strategies informed by the community and the city's master plan. These directives have helped ECA and the city move forward with ongoing and future efforts in the arts. Whereas the Easthampton City Council recognizes that the ECA initiative is a valuable part of the city's departments and serves a critical purpose in providing a voice for the city with regard to art, artists, culture, and cultural vibrancy. And whereas this council appreciates the value of the Futures Project as a deeply researched, meaningful, and community-vetted document with the involvement of more than 400 people of all ages and backgrounds, including teenagers, elders, artists, educators, business owners, community partners, newcomers to the city, and people who have lived in Easthampton their entire lives. And whereas the project creates an intergenerational community space by and for students, as it did with ECA's Youth Arts Initiative in 2022, with the high school's Center for Diversity, Equity, and Belonging. And whereas it prioritizes new models and approaches to counter the destabilizing impacts of gentrification as the ECA's annual invitational in 2024 that focused on models of collaboration towards sustainability in a gallery, exhibition, and public panel discussion, and engagement in ongoing discussions to establish long-term affordable artist workspaces. And whereas the project utilizes Easthampton's existing arts and cultural resources to infuse municipal planning and civic engagement processes with creativity and participatory methodologies, which results in ECA's creation of 2 permanent foundations to support future public sculptures as part of the Union Street redesign in 2021, and the inclusion of public art in the ongoing New City redesign project. And whereas ECA has committed to continuing to offer and grow programming for free to the community by raising 100% of any and all necessary funds for programs, including, but not limited to, Art Walk and ECA Gallery exhibitions, serving 1,500 plus community members through 11 exhibitions and events throughout the year. Poetry programs featuring 6 poets who have served as Easthampton's Poet Laureate and serving 1,000 plus community members. Cultural district programming, namely the Cultural Chaos Street Festival, which serves 12,000 plus community members annually. Public art, including public sculptures, wayfinding signage, bike racks, park designs, and murals. Youth arts initiatives in partnership with Easthampton High School. Pandemic response programs, including an artist grants initiative that supports 50 artists, a free studio workspace program that supports 20 artists, and the Spotlight Music Series, which supports 30 plus musicians and serves 1,000 plus community members. Increased staff capacity and engagement with other city departments such as the police department, fire department, and DPW. And whereas the project emphasizes the integration of arts and culture into outdoor public spaces, as with ECA's work in collaboration with the planning and public works departments to include public art in upcoming redesign projects and have added public art to new parks such as the Pocket Park on the Manhattan Trail at Ferry Street. And whereas the project facilitates new opportunities for Easthampton artists, as it did with ECA and City Space partnering to co-host the director of the Massachusetts Cultural Council on a tour of Easthampton in 2022. And whereas it gathers data regarding community assets and underutilized spaces as exemplified by ECA's participation in a citywide community assets mapping initiative in 2021. And whereas the project proposed strategies to revitalize Old Town Hall, resulting in city space, signing a long-term lease with the city, establishing performance space, and hiring staff. And therefore, be it resolved, the Easthampton City Council recognizes that the Futures Project is an ongoing living document that includes strategies carried over from the city's master plan, and upcoming efforts will be focused on modifying zoning codes and regulations to support affordable living and working spaces, establishing an arts curriculum in public schools, requiring a percentage of matching funds from new development to support public art and community engagement, and formalize intergenerational relationship building opportunities. And be it further resolved, this City Council recognizes the overall value that ECA and efforts like the Futures Project bring to the city of Easthampton in both quantitative and qualitative aspects, including the fact that arts and culture can continue to be economic drivers for the city. And be it further resolved, we recognize that artists are being displaced and we are losing artists from our city due to factors such as rent increases and lower prioritization by commercial and residential landlords. And be it further resolved, we recognize that part of what draws people to Easthampton both to live and to visit is in large part due to the vibrancy and diversity of our arts and cultural programming. And be it further resolved that the Easthampton City Council commits to the ongoing support of ECA and the Futures Project.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Councilor Riley.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a really big thank you to you, Pasqualina. When I moved to Easthampton 13 years ago, I started to see the beginning of the things that I've grown to love so much about living here. And so much of that has happened under your leadership. And, you know, in this presentation, you know, I look at the page for foundational support and I see so many names that I know have done this time and time again. And to see the pictures, there was a time when the pandemic started and I was so worried that we were going to lose that. There is a certain charm and quality about people in Easthampton to come together to create spaces like that. It's so inviting and inclusive and almost childlike in a way to be able to play and to explore, and that's something that not a lot of communities have. So I'm really thankful to see this coming up, because I see as these dates started to wind down was right before the pandemic started. So this was probably one of the last really big things that we did before everything shuttered. And there's a sort of symbolism and empowerment to see this coming back, right? That this is the thing that has always made the big heart aspect of the little city. So thank you to you, to everybody that you worked with on this. You're a huge part of why this city is so special, so thank you for your work.
Thank you.
That looks like Councilor Kwasinski and then Councilor Johnson.
I just wanted to follow up on Councilor Riley's comments and to say, Pasqualina, thank you so much. And for Sita, I see you in the audience and I see that great smile on your face. And it, for me, puts a smile on my face and reminds me of what you talked about. What you talked about was the integration of all of this together in a community form, in a place where we all could share, in a place where we all could learn from one another. I appreciate that. That's what makes Easthampton very exciting and a great place to be.
Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Pasqualina, the ECA Coordinating Committee, and everyone else who's come out and support, and everyone who's just been part of this work and this community. I just wanted to share that prior to joining, I was on the ECA Coordinating Committee for 3 years. I'm not actually sure the total length of time, but I know firsthand the work that goes into making our city an amazing place to live, and also the amount of time and energy and thought that everyone puts in to thinking about the future. I think the Futures Project, as we all mentioned, it got derailed because of COVID, but I'm really grateful that we have this space, both here with this resolution and in this room, to talk through everything, because we are in a moment where we want to be thinking about what comes next. And I really feel very strongly personally that arts and culture needs to be a critical part of what comes next for Easthampton. So thank you.
Any other thoughts? I would just say the word that comes to my mind right now is symbiosis. And I love to travel, and I love to travel to places that have art, public art. And, you know, when a city has beautiful art, it's a thriving city. And, you know, I think that as we create Easthampton into its future, art is an integral piece, and it's going to help the city. So I'm very thankful for this. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those are abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, and so now we have two more, and if nobody objects, I would like to, the resolution that I put forward for this evening, I think I'd like to save it for next time, just in recognition of the time. And that way we can move right into the resolution for the battery storage, and because I think there are probably some people here for that as well. So, Councilor Jacek, I'll move that right to you.
Great, thank you, Mr. President. So in the form of a motion, so this is an Easthampton City Council resolution regarding current and future plans for a lithium battery energy storage system, BESS, before the Massachusetts DPU. Whereas the Easthampton City Council recognizes that water is life and is therefore a critical factor for ensuring the health, safety, and welfare of its residents, and whereas Article 97 of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts states that the people shall have the right to clean air and water, freedom from excessive and unnecessary noise, and the natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic qualities of their environment, and the protection of the people in their right to the conservation, development, and utilization of the agricultural, mineral, forest, water, air, and other natural resources is hereby declared to be a public purpose. And whereas the City of Easthampton has created an Aquifer Protection Committee to protect the city's sole source of drinking water, Barnes Aquifer, through regulations, ordinances, development review, and land acquisition. And whereas there are current plans to install lithium battery storage units in Westfield near the Barnes Aquifer, and whereas in an effort to develop alternative energy supplies, there has been an increasing number of proposed and constructed battery energy storage system, also known as BESS, projects nationally, whose technology is fairly new, rapidly evolving, and for which there is not a well-documented history of the impacts of these projects on local communities. And whereas BESS failures are such a frequent occurrence that the Electric Power Research Institute maintains a database of BESS failure incidents whose consequences pose a very real potential threat to our environment, first responders, and residents. And whereas BESS projects do not bring realistic economic benefits to communities where they are constructed, such as jobs and/or new local tax revenue, and instead may burden communities with health and safety risks, long-term static land use, negative impact on existing residential land values, disincentivizing employers and businesses from locating into the area, and creating lower than optimum local sales and ad valorem tax opportunities. And whereas these lithium battery systems with known volatile risks contain software that is susceptible to cyber terrorist attacks from foreign adversaries that could result in the destruction of our power grid, leading to exposure to toxic gases, environmental contamination, destruction of personal property, loss of property values, and loss of life. And whereas one health and safety concern reasonably related to BESS projects is the potential for the ignition of fires, explosions, and thermal runaway events, which once initiated are extremely difficult to extinguish and may require the deployment of Easthampton fire and safety resources and personnel to battle those fires. And whereas there is a proposal for a BESS project on Medeiros Way in Westfield, at a site that is partially located over Westfield's Zone 2 and adjacent to Southampton Zone 2, and located in the secondary recharge area for both municipal drinking water supplies, and which may have direct impact on Easthampton's water supply. And whereas our community responds in solidarity with Westfield's vulnerable populations, as this proposed site is located in close proximity to an assisted living and memory support home, an environmental justice EJ census block group, a school, and a resident-owned manufactured home community, another designated EJ block group. And whereas we must balance clean energy progress with vigilant oversight to prevent environmental and public health harm from emerging technologies. Therefore, be it resolved that the Easthampton City Council opposes the construction of any BESS project in Westfield, and be it further resolved that this project has the potential of violating Easthampton residents and our neighboring community residents' Article 97 rights, and be it further resolved that sitting this project near to already overburdened EJ and disadvantaged communities, schools, and long-term care facilities, and in a water resources protection district is not an equitable distribution of environmental burdens and environmental benefits. And be it further resolved, the developer of any current or future lithium battery storage facility should pay for a third-party consultant to review the project to determine the possible effects of a BESS project on the drinking supply of all neighboring communities, specifically those utilizing the Barnes and Grape Brook aquifers. And be it further resolved that the consultant should be hired and maintained through the project's application at DPU and should be separate from any specific consultant or monitoring agency that the City of Westfield has to represent the aquifer flow. And be it further resolved that the Easthampton City Council is calling for DPU to issue a moratorium on all BESS projects until the affected communities can update and review the newest data. And be it further resolved that we want our mayor to engage in the creation of an aquifer task force by June 1st, and the mayor will provide City Council and residents with a progress report by the middle of July. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to State Representative Omar Gomez, Senator John Bellis, and to the chair of the DPU.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Councilor Riley.
I will be very quick. I just want to say two specific thank yous on this. So the first is I want to thank Kathy Wazinski for bringing this to our attention. Sometimes there are just so many policy things that are happening in Easthampton that it's hard to pay attention to what's also happening in neighboring communities. I did not realize to the extent of how troublesome and damaging this could be were it not for you bringing the information to us. So I thank you for that. And to just call out that this is a rare moment where whenever people disagree on policy issues, that in Easthampton, when it comes to our environment and our water, that we are unified across the community. And this is a really important moment to acknowledge that. So thank you, Kathy. And then the other thank you is a thank you to Councilor Denham. She had started the process of writing this resolution, and when there was so much enthusiasm and willingness to be co-sponsors of this resolution, she stepped aside to let those of us co-sponsor because it's important to us as well. So that's a moment of leadership that I appreciate, to give all of us the opportunity to, on paper, put our support to this. So thank you, Councilor Denham. Thank you, Kathy Wazinski.
Councilor Trill.
Yeah, I just want to say I also would like to thank Kathy and Jean, because I was not fully aware of this until Kathy spoke, and she was nice enough to speak at this meeting as well as last meeting, and to coattail what Councilor Riley said, this affects everybody. We can agree and disagree on a lot of things. This affects every single person within earshot of me right now, and people need to just educate themselves on this, because once you just read about this and inform yourself about this, there is no benefit. There is absolutely no benefit. And it's not an if a fire happens, it's when. And we've seen that based on what's happened in California, what's happened in New York, and we need to be proactive and not allow that to happen here, because they are reacting in those two states based on snap decisions they made, letting these facilities in. And we need to take those examples and learn from that and be proactive on this. So again, I'd like to thank Kathy and Jean for what they've done. I'd like to thank Councilor Jasdik for the resolution, and just educate yourself on this, please, because it's very important to everybody. Thank you.
Any other thoughts? Councilor Kwasinski?
Wanted to say that in addition to all the other comments, which we appreciate, other communities are getting on board with this. This is happening to all of the valley. When it was mentioned that Holyoke, Westfield, Amherst is under consideration, we're joining a very good group in the passage of this resolution. So I appreciate all the efforts of fellow councilors, the quickness with which we're bringing this forward. And we want to let the world know, please, give it pause for now. Give it pause. Not in Westfield and not in Easthampton.
Any other councilors? I guess I'll just say, you know, I'm an environmentalist, and so I can support this. You know, I kind of look at this through a different lens, I think, that other people are looking at it through. Because we are in a climate emergency right now. We are in a specific space of like being addicted to fossil fuels, and we live in a valley, so we should care. Because, you know, Springfield is one of the biggest hotspots for asthma in the country. And the reason is because we live in a valley and there's pollution here now. So I would love to see the energy that's been focused towards stopping a renewable energy project, which I believe that this is, towards weaning us off of fossil fuels. And, you know, sometimes there's something called specific phobias where you're afraid to get in a plane because you think it's going to crash, but really the danger was driving to the airport. And so I just want us to be mindful of that in context of the fact that, yeah, this is new, it's scary, and there are potential issues here. And, you know, I have no problem voting for this to put the brakes on until we know exactly what's going on. But there's a bigger issue here, which is, like, you don't get to pick and choose when you become an environmentalist and what topics. Like, if you care about the environment, you care about the environment. And you should care about it all the time. You should care about clean air in the valley all the time. And part of that is caring about the other issues too, and focusing some of that energy. So I'd really like to see, you know, like yard signs and energy focused towards really helping us all come together, because we all live in the same fishbowl. So this is something we should all care about, and it's something we should all pull together and work towards together. So that's all I have to say. And so I will say, all those in favor? Aye. Any noes or abstentions? Motion passes. And nobody told me they had any communications. Is that correct?
Mr. President, I just have a quick question.
Yeah, please.
On the item that we're not doing tonight, and maybe this is a Mary Ann question, do we have to remove it by motion without prejudice, or do we just?
I think we can just extend it until our next meeting.
Mary Ann's like, don't.
And we don't even have to vote. We don't even have to vote.
All right, just wait.
Yeah. And does anybody have any announcements they'd like to make quickly? Because I would like to get to Mayor's communications, because I believe we have something that needs to happen during Mayor's communications. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to swear in Mary Ann Giza as our city clerk and clerk to the city council.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yay.
I state your name.
I, Mary Ann Giza,
Do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
the duties incumbent
upon me as city clerk and clerk to the city council for the city of Easthampton. According to the best of my knowledge and abilities. Agreeably to the rules. And regulations. Of the Constitution of the United States of America. The laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And the city of Easthampton. Great. If you could sign that. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. President, can I say something real quick?
Please.
I forgot. I had something to say. Just real quick, I just want to make everybody aware that Saturday, April 26th is opening day for Easthampton Little League down at Nonotuck Park. So everybody's invited, and I just want to make everybody aware of that. It's Saturday, April 26th at 9 o'clock.
Perfect. Does anybody else have any? I didn't want to rush us through that, but I wanted our clerk to get sworn in. Councilor Denham.
Yeah, actually, I have a couple of things.
Yep, feel free.
Now that I think about it. One is that on April 22nd, it's Earth Day. So there will be a proclamation read out front here, and also on April 26th, which is a Saturday at 9 a.m., 9 to noon, there's going to be a tree distribution. So we'll be handing out trees. So in honor of Arbor Day, so there'll be that opportunity to pick up trees. Yeah, so I just want to make people aware of that.
Thank you. Yeah, Councilor.
Do we have a time for that?
9 to noon.
9 to noon for the pickup of trees.
At Big E's.
Big E's.
Yes.
Big trees.
Big trees at Big E's.
Okay. I think
trees at Big E's.
No other announcements? Okay, great. So let's go into reports from standing committees. Finance, Councilor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met last week to discuss the two appropriations that we put on tonight. We will be meeting next week at 5:30 to discuss two CPA appropriations that I could take a first reading of now.
That'd be great. Thank you.
All right, so I'll do these as a single motion to do both of these appropriations and to set a public hearing for both of them for our next meeting at 6:15 p.m. in these chambers.
Great.
First one, request is hereby made for approval of the following appropriation. Amount requested, $201,875 to be appropriated from CPA Reserve for Affordable Housing, $2,913. CPA Undesignated Fund, $962, for a total of $201,875 to be appropriated to Valley CDC Mortgage Subsidy Financial Literacy, $201,875. The amounts requested will be used for the following purpose: provides low to moderate income households with financial literacy education, housing counseling services, and 3 down payment assistance grants. The second appropriation is request is hereby made for the approval of the following appropriation. Amount requested $69,382 to be appropriated from CPA Reserve for Open Space, $1,948. CPA Undesignated Fund, $67,434 to be appropriated to Lathrop years 2 and 3, invasive removal, $69,382. The amount requested will be used for the following purpose. The funding would be used to control invasive vegetation on Lathrop community land and educate the public about invasive species. Those are, yeah.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second for the Community Preservation Act supplemental appropriations to send them to finance and set a public hearing. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes, abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you, Councilor Peak. Anything else?
This concludes.
Perfect. Public Safety, Councilor Trail.
So we had a very informative and detailed discussion during our last meeting regarding a lot of traffic safety items in town, but all centering around the 25-mile-an-hour city-wide speed limit proposition. So in response to that, I would like to request a public hearing in these chambers on May 7th at 6:15 for the 25-mile-an-hour citywide speed limit.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any noes or abstention? Motion passes.
And one other thing, our next meeting will be Tuesday, April 29th at 6 p.m. in conference room 1 downstairs.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Terrell.
Thus concludes.
Appointments, Councilor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appointments has not met since the last city council meetings, but I do have one appointment to move forward to the appointment subcommittee, so I'll make this in the form of a motion to move Maddie Palmer for the position of Assistant City Clerk with a term expiration date of April 1st, 2028.
Second. We have a motion and a second to move the assistant clerk appointment to appointments. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes or abstention? Motion passes. Thank you, Councilor Smith. Anything else?
Would it be possible to put a 90-day extension on the ongoing agenda item request that is currently listed there?
Yes, it would, and that's in the form of a motion, correct?
Yes, it is. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for a 90-day extension on the one appointment agenda item. All those in favor? Aye. Any abstentions or noes? Motion passes. Ordinance, I'm sorry, that concludes, right?
Yep, that concludes.
Ordinance, Councilor Denham.
Thank you, Mr. President. So on April 1st, the ordinance committee met to discuss the review of the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership Zoning Ordinance recommendation. Had good conversation there. It is by no means over, and we're continuing to have those conversations, and we will have no decisions have been made. We've just been, discussing the next meeting regarding the review of the zoning ordinance. Recommendations will be April 28th at 6 p.m. in conference room 1. We have also had really great conversations around the ordinance amendments regarding short-term rentals. We've had a lot of public input, particularly from hosts of the short-term rentals, and we've also had a few community members expressing concern around those short-term rentals. And we this past meeting, we had input from the fire departments, as well as the building commissioner, and as well as the police department was also there, and they shared their concerns around a number of things. We've got some clarification around various statewide codes, fire codes, building codes, et cetera. So and we've also had a lot of input from our planning department, who's done a lot of work on this as well. So I appreciate all of that work and all of the time that staff has put in, city staff has put into this discussion. We are going to have another meeting regarding short-term rentals on April 30th at 6 p.m., also in conference room 1. So that will happen. And then regarding the other items, we've been spending a lot of time on these, as well as the Easthampton shrubbery ordinance, which is now off our plate, but we will continue to make headway with those things as time allows. But other than that, that's everything that our committee has to offer council this evening.
Thank you, Councilor Denham. And apologies to the property committee. Did you all reorganize? We did. Councilor Peak, are you now the chair? I am. Okay, I wanted to make sure we announced that, and I didn't want to get it wrong. And Councilor Coniff, are you now the...
Taking notes.
Thank you very much for that.
Taking names. Yes.
Appreciate that. Councilor Peak, property.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the property committee has not met in a long time, despite having an agenda item on our agenda since December around a ordinance request regarding flags on public properties, including over ponds. We recognize that there's a lot of community interest in this subject, so we're going to be holding a meeting and sort of an informal public hearing of sorts just to get community impact. That's going to be occurring on Monday, the 21st at 6 p.m. ideally in these chambers, if that's possible.
Building will be closed, it's Patriots Day.
It's a holiday.
Oh, it is, yeah. Well, then that's not going to work.
What a good time for a flag discussion.
What a great time for
True, Patriots Day,
Yeah. Well, shoot. What was the other day we were talking about? I'm sorry, guys. I just want...
Tuesday or Thursday.
Tuesday, yeah, let's do Tuesday.
The 22nd?
Tuesday the 22nd.
That's Earth Day, but that's good.
Yeah.
Well, every day is some sort of day.
Let's do the 22nd. Yeah, I want to get this announced because I want to get it like, I want to do it before our next meeting. Yes. So, yeah, I apologize for that.
5:30 or 6?
6.
6.
Yep, if that's okay.
Thank you.
Councilor Coniff?
Mr. President.
Yeah, Councilor Coniff.
So my only comment, Tom, I just want to, I'm sorry, Councilor Peak, is I just want to, for even our small committee and also for the public, I want us to make sure that we don't get mired down in the opposing parties who want or don't want a flag. I feel like I want to get to work on this in terms of creating something. And so I guess my preference would be, I think we know there's a lot of people who love it, a lot of people who hate it, okay. So if we could limit maybe the public hearing, not to hours and hours and hours, maybe 1 hour or something, because I think we're very clear on the opposing issues. It really is now a legal, safety, and whatever else issue that we have to address. And that's for us to do here. So just throwing that out there.
Yep, and I think that's fair, and you guys can just sort that out.
Yeah.
Okay, any other items?
Does that mean to be held in these chambers?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
You might need it.
If not, then the biggest one you've got.
Probably not in the
JP, can you move that?
It is
I remember rent study too.
Okay, super. Yeah, and let's conclude.
Oh, thank you, Councilor Peak. Councilor Kwasinski, Rules and Government Relations.
Yes, regarding the Home Rule Charter Amendment request for the mayoral compensation, that also is in conjunction with terms of the office. And there's an issue that I've asked for some clarification additionally from our attorney, and I hope to get that and then get back to the committee for a meeting, and then we could, I think, wrap that up. There's basically an issue of, do we need to change how we define the term of the mayor, because we're doing some other intricate changes as to when we can vote a it gets very complicated. Let's get some clarification, try to make it as simple as possible. Should we move?
Yep, I would say the creation of the 9-member rent study would go to...
The issue of the creation of 9-member rent study committee, and I'd like to move that to Rules and Government Relations.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Noes or abstention? Motion passes.
This concludes.
Oh, thank you, Councilor Kwasinski. I don't see any other new business, which means that I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, look at that. We got slaps within this one. That's amazing.